I didn't walk into that hotel like a woman begging for answers. I walked in like I already knew the truth because I did. The loyalty email had spelled it out for me in black and white. A king suite booked under his name, champagne on ice, late checkout requested, and a special note attached. Make sure the rose petals are ready before she arrives. The desk clerk looked up as I slid my ID across the counter. My hand was steady, though my chest burned. Reservation under Sullivan, I said. He blinked at me, fingers tapping the keyboard. Yes, ma'am. Checking in? His wife, I clarified, tilting my chin toward the monitor. Go ahead. Print it. The printer hummed, and within seconds, I was holding the confirmation with his name printed boldly across it. Room number, champagne, roses. Every detail there in ink. My lips curled into the kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. I tucked the paper neatly into my purse. I didn't have to wait long. The elevator dinged, and out stepped my husband, grinning like a teenager, his hand locked around hers. She was younger, maybe late 20s, dripping in a too-short dress that screamed desperate. He leaned down and whispered something in her ear, and she laughed, tossing her hair back like she'd already won. Then he saw me. His grin froze in place, and the color drained from his face so fast I thought he might collapse. "McKenna?" he croaked, like my name was a curse. I crossed my arms and let the silence do its work. The lobby seemed to pause, the receptionist stiffening, a bellhop stopping mid-step, the couple on the sofa turning their heads. All of them staring. I wanted the humiliation to spread, wanted the floor to open and swallow him whole. "Who's this?" she asked, her hand slipping from his arm. I stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "I'm his wife," I said clearly, projecting my voice so every corner of the lobby heard it. "The one whose email he used to book your little champagne suite. You should thank him, sweetheart. The loyalty points went to my account." Her jaw dropped. Gasps rippled across the room. My husband sputtered, raising his palms like he could stop a tidal wave. "It's not what it looks like." I cut him off with a laugh sharp enough to slice glass. "Really? Because it looks exactly like you booked a hotel for your mistress using my email, my money, and my time. Did I miss something?" She staggered back, her heels clicking against the marble floor, muttering something about needing fresh air. She bolted for the doors, leaving him stranded, a deer caught in blinding headlights. "Please," he hissed, his voice low, trying to contain the damage. "Let's not do this here." "Oh no," I said, pulling the folded confirmation from my purse and waving it like a flag. "We're doing it here, right now, in front of everyone. You wanted romance? You wanted roses. Here's your bouquet of shame." Before he could move, I lifted the glass of champagne sitting unattended on the counter, probably meant for some guest arriving in style, and I threw it straight into his face. The liquid splattered across his shirt and dripped down onto the polished floor. The gasp that followed was delicious, like an audience reacting to the climax of a play. He wiped his eyes, stammering, "McKenna, stop. Let's go upstairs and talk." "No," I said firmly, voice trembling but unbroken. "We're finished. You humiliated me. You lied to me. You dragged our marriage through the gutter. But tonight, you get to taste humiliation in return." His lips parted, but no words came. He just stood there, dripping champagne, surrounded by witnesses who would carry this story into every corner of West Palm Beach by morning. I turned to the clerk, who was frozen behind the counter. "Cancel his room, and make sure the bill goes to him directly, not to our joint account. Those days are over." The clerk nodded quickly, typing with nervous hands. I adjusted my purse strap, squared my shoulders, and walked toward the exit. My heels clicked like gunshots across the marble, each step sealing the vow hardening inside me. I wouldn't cry here. I wouldn't beg. That part of me had died the moment I read those hotel messages. Outside, the humid Florida night wrapped around me. My chest heaved, but I forced the tears back down. He could keep his lies, his roses, his empty promises. From this moment on, he wasn't my problem. He was my project. I whispered to myself as I opened my car door, a promise only I needed to hear. You're going to regret this. I'll make sure of it. I slid behind the wheel, slammed the door shut, and drove off without looking back, leaving him standing in the ruins of his performance. Tonight was only Act 1. People think betrayal starts the moment you catch them in the act. They're wrong. It starts years before, in all the little moments you choose to ignore because you believe in the life you built. I married him young, 26, full of fire and trust. Back then he was ambitious but broke, talking about big dreams and bigger risks. I had a steady job in marketing, pulling 12-hour days while he tinkered with business ideas in cafes, convincing me that success was just around the corner. I believed him. More than that, I funded him. Rent, groceries, even his first office space, all came out of my paycheck. When my mother passed, the grief nearly crushed me. What kept me breathing was the house she left me, a small inheritance that represented her life's work. I should have kept it in my name alone, but no, I wanted to share everything with him. I wanted ours, not mine. So I added him to the paperwork. Years later, when he finally made it, when his small company turned into something that actually pulled money in, he strutted like a self-made man. He forgot the nights I held us together with takeout dinners and unpaid bills. And maybe I let him forget, because I wanted to believe that marriage meant sacrifice and reward in equal measure. We had our daughter 2 years into his first real streak of success. She's 7 now, all wide eyes and messy ponytails, too smart for her age. She is the reason I tolerated the excuses, late meetings, last-minute travel, networking dinners. She's the reason I convinced myself that marriage sometimes looks uneven, but always balances out in the end. But deep down, I knew. The perfume that clung to his shirts when he got home late, the texts he guarded with his body angled away, the sudden gym obsession when he'd never cared before. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to see them, because seeing them meant tearing my daughter's world apart. I remember one night, maybe 6 months ago, I asked him directly if there was someone else. His eyes flashed with that mix of irritation and fear, the kind of look people get when they're not prepared to be caught. He laughed it off, kissed my forehead, told me I was being paranoid. And I let it go. I swallowed my doubt like poison and smiled through it. The universe has a cruel way of handing you the truth when you're finally ready to stop lying to yourself. For me, it came in the form of that hotel confirmation email, sitting innocently in my inbox. But the real confirmation came later, from someone I trusted. My best friend Harper called me 2 weeks before the hotel fiasco. She'd been out with coworkers at a bar downtown and saw him walk in with the same woman I'd later see on his arm. "They weren't subtle, Mac," she said, her voice tight with pity and anger. It wasn't business. She had her hand on his leg. I hung up that night, staring at the ceiling while my daughter slept down the hall. Every memory played on a reel. The nights I defended him to my family. The years I carried us financially. The trust I handed him like gold. He hadn't just betrayed me. He'd betrayed the version of me that sacrificed everything to make him who he was. That's when the weight shifted. Betrayal stopped being a question mark and became a period. A hard stop. And once that line was drawn, the rest of the story began to write itself. I wasn't just a wife anymore. I was a strategist, a mother, and a woman with nothing left to lose. And he had no idea what kind of storm was about to hit him. The morning after the hotel scene, I woke up with swollen eyes but a steady pulse. I didn't cry myself to sleep. I planned myself to sleep. The rage had burned clean, leaving me sharper than I'd felt in years. He had humiliated me in public. Now it was my turn to dismantle him in private, piece by piece. First step, money. Always money. I drove straight to the bank when it opened, dressed in black slacks and a crisp blouse, hair tied back like armor. The clerk recognized me. I'd been in and out for years, depositing my salary, transferring funds to cover his endless business investments. But this time was different. "I need to freeze our joint account," I said calmly, sliding the necessary documents across the desk. And I want my inheritance account moved into a separate portfolio under my name only. The woman glanced at me, hesitation flickering, but I held her gaze. My tone left no room for negotiation. Within an hour, the money that had once been ours was now untouchable, secured behind my signature alone. I walked out lighter, almost giddy, knowing he would soon reach for the card that never declined, and choke on the reality that it was empty. Second step? Protection. I called a locksmith and changed the house locks before lunch. His clothes went into black trash bags, lined neatly in the garage. Every shirt, every shoe, every tie he had bought with my credit card. Gone. By noon, my phone buzzed with a message from Harper. He's panicking. Just tried to use the card at a restaurant. Declined. Good. Third step. Legal. I sat across from a divorce lawyer that same afternoon. She was a sharp woman in her 40s with eyes that missed nothing. I handed her the hotel confirmation email, screenshots Harper had sent me, and my bank statements. She skimmed through, nodding with quiet satisfaction. "You've got him cornered," she said finally. "This will be clean. Custody, assets, everything. He'll fight, but you're holding the match and the gasoline." Her words were a balm. For the first time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like the architect of his unraveling. That night, I tucked my daughter into bed and kissed her forehead. She looked up at me, eyes wide and searching. "Mommy, why was Daddy gone so long yesterday?" My throat tightened, but I forced the truth out gently. "Daddy made some choices that hurt us. But you and I are going to be okay. Better than okay." She nodded like she understood more than I wanted her to, wrapping her little arms around my neck. That hug sealed my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for her, for the kind of life she deserved. The next day, the storm hit. He showed up at the house, pounding on the locked front door. I watched from the upstairs window as he jiggled the knob, his face twisted with confusion and anger. Finally, I opened the window just enough for him to see me. "What the hell, Mac? My card's not working. Why are the locks changed?" I leaned out, voice calm, deliberate. "Because you don't live here anymore. And the money? That's mine. You lost the right to it the moment you walked into that hotel." His jaw clenched. "You can't do this. That money's ours. The house is mine." I cut in. "The deed's in my name. The inheritance is mine. You contributed nothing but lies." He slammed his fist against the door, but I didn't flinch. "You're making a mistake," he spat. "You think you can just erase me?" I smiled, slow and cold. "I'm not erasing you. I'm exposing you. There's a difference." The look on his face, shock, rage, desperation tangled together, was better than champagne. He stormed off, shouting over his shoulder that I'd regret this. But as his car peeled out of the driveway, all I felt was certainty. I wasn't the one who would regret anything. That night, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open, spreadsheets organized, lawyers' emails marked with stars. Every move was deliberate, evidence compiled, assets secured, allies contacted. My life, once wrapped around his chaos, was now under my control. And I wasn't stopping. This was only the beginning. He thought the hotel was his playground. He had no idea it was the first domino in the collapse of everything he'd built on my back. The first cracks showed faster than I expected. By midweek, he was already drowning. I was sipping coffee at the kitchen table when my phone buzzed with another message from Harper. He just tried to book a flight. Card declined again. He looked like he wanted to die. I smiled into my mug. For years, I'd watched him swipe plastic without ever checking balances. He lived in the illusion that money just flowed, because I made sure it did. Now, he was a man with a wallet full of useless cards. The next blow came from the mistress. She called me. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello?" Her voice was shaky, stripped of the smugness she carried in the hotel lobby. "Look, I didn't know he was married. He told me you were separated." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the phone. Separated? Honey, he was very much married when he used my email to book your little getaway. Silence. Then a whisper. He promised me he'd take care of everything. He said the business was thriving. Then let him take care of you, I snapped. He's all yours now. Enjoy the bills, the debt, and the reputation of being the side piece who thought she won. She hung up crying. Good. Let her feel the sting of being just another pawn in his lies. Word spread quickly. West Palm Beach is big enough to disappear in, but small enough that gossip finds you faster than sunlight. By Thursday, my phone was buzzing nonstop with messages from acquaintances. Saw your husband at the bar. Looked wrecked. He's telling people you blindsided him. Is it true about the hotel? I didn't confirm or deny. I didn't need to. The truth had a way of surfacing on its own, especially when you left breadcrumbs for people to follow. I started dropping them deliberately. A forwarded receipt here, a screenshot there. Not plastered on social media. Not yet. Just quietly leaked to the right ears. The receptionist at the hotel, for example, was more than happy to accidentally mention the scene to a friend, who mentioned it to another, and soon it was all anyone whispered about at country clubs and yoga studios. His business partners began pulling away. One of them, a man named Cole, called me directly. Look, McKenna, I don't know what's going on between you two, but he's missing meetings, blowing deadlines. He looks unstable. If there's something we should know? I didn't say much, just enough. Maybe you should check his expense reports. See how much of the company's money went to hotel suites instead of client dinners. The silence on the other end was delicious. By the weekend, the fallout reached his family. His father, the man who once toasted him as the future of the family name at our wedding, called me in a hushed, almost embarrassed tone. Mac, he said, I'm hearing things. Tell me it's not true. Oh, it's true, I said flatly. Every word. Your son humiliated me in public in front of strangers. He cheated, he lied, and he thought he was untouchable. The old man sighed, heavy and defeated. I'll talk to him. This is shameful. For the first time, I felt the tide turning completely in my favor. The same people who once praised him were now distancing themselves, realizing he wasn't the golden boy they'd propped up, but a fool unraveling in plain view. And then came his first desperate attempt to crawl back. It was Sunday afternoon. I was folding laundry when my phone lit up with his name. Against my better judgment, I answered. McKenna, please, he started, his voice hoarse. We need to talk. This is getting out of hand. I kept folding, calm and steady. You're the one who booked a hotel with your mistress using my email. Out of hand doesn't begin to cover it. I made a mistake, he said quickly. A huge mistake. But you can't ruin me like this. I laughed under my breath. Can't I? He hesitated, then tried a new angle. Think about our daughter. Think about her future. Do you really want her growing up in the middle of this? That hit me, but not the way he intended. Her future? That's exactly why I'm doing this. I'd rather she grow up with one strong parent than watch me grovel at the feet of a liar. His breath crackled on the line, sharp and shallow. If you keep this up, I'll have nothing left. That's the point, I said softly. Now hang up. Don't call again unless it's through my lawyer. Click. I stood there, phone still in my hand, heart pounding. For years, I had been the buffer, the fixer, the one who made sure life ran smoothly while he played the role of the carefree husband. Now, he was feeling the chaos I'd shielded him from, and I wasn't going to save him. That night, I tucked my daughter into bed again, kissed her goodnight, and whispered a promise. We're going to be okay. Mommy's got this. Downstairs, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. His messages were already rolling in. Long, panicked emails begging for meetings, for explanations, for forgiveness. I didn't reply. Not once. Because this was no longer about forgiveness. This was about consequences. And the first wave had only just hit. If the hotel lobby was Act 1, the family dinner was Act 2. And this time, there would be no champagne glass to the face. Only a truth bomb that would leave him scorched in front of the people he cared about most. His sister called me first. "Mac, we're all meeting at Dad's house Sunday. He wants the family together. Can you come?" I hesitated, knowing exactly what this was. A staged intervention. His attempt to spin the narrative, to paint me as the bitter wife trying to destroy him. But I agreed, because sometimes the best stage for a confrontation is the one they build themselves. When I arrived, the air was thick with tension. His parents, his siblings, even a few cousins, all seated around the long dining table, the smell of roasted chicken filling the room. And at the head of the table, there he was. Clean-shaven, forced smile, trying to look like the respectable man everyone once admired. "McKenna," he said warmly, too warmly. "Glad you could make it. We need to clear the air." I slid into an empty chair, crossing my legs, my purse resting neatly in my lap. "By all means," I said. "Clear it." He launched into a rehearsed speech. "I know mistakes were made. I know I've let people down. But McKenna has been spreading stories that—" I raised a hand, cutting him off. "Stories? You mean facts. Would you like me to read them out loud?" Murmurs rippled across the table. His mother shifted uncomfortably. His father's jaw tightened. "Mac," he said through gritted teeth, "this isn't the place." "Oh, it's exactly the place," I countered, pulling my phone from my purse. With a few swipes, I mirrored the hotel confirmation onto the TV mounted on the wall. The email glowed like a spotlight. Reservation for Sullivan. Special requests. Champagne. Rose petals. Notes. Make sure it's perfect for her. Gasps filled the room. His sister covered her mouth. His cousin whispered something under her breath. I turned to face them all. He didn't just cheat. He was sloppy enough to use my email account. That's how little he respected me, and how little he thought of all of you. He didn't just betray me. He dragged our family name through the gutter. His face went crimson. "McKenna, stop this right now." I stood, my voice steady but loud enough to cut through every protest. "Stop. Why? You humiliated me in public in front of strangers. Now your family gets the truth too. That's balance." His father slammed a fist against the table. "Is this true?" he barked. Silence. My husband's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Finally, he muttered, "It was a mistake. One mistake." "One mistake," I snapped, stepping closer. "One mistake doesn't last months. One mistake doesn't come with multiple hotel bookings and receipts for champagne. One mistake doesn't look you in the eye and swear you're paranoid while sneaking around with someone half your age." The room was dead quiet. Even the sound of the ceiling fan seemed louder than his pitiful excuses. His sister broke first. "You're disgusting," she whispered, pushing her chair back. "You let us all defend you while you were out doing this?" His mother shook her head, tears in her eyes. His father's glare was enough to burn through stone. I leaned in close to him, my voice low but sharp enough to cut. "Do you want to know the best part?" He glared up at me, lips pressed tight. I straightened, projecting my voice for everyone to hear. He booked the hotel under my email, so every loyalty point from his little affair went straight into my account. Thanks to him, my next vacation is free. The room erupted. His cousins laughed nervously, his sister gasped, his father cursed under his breath. The humiliation was complete. He pushed his chair back, muttering something about not staying here to be attacked, and stormed out of the room. I gathered my purse, calm and composed. Before leaving, I looked at his father. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I won't cover for him anymore. The man you thought you raised isn't who he pretends to be." His father nodded grimly, his eyes full of disappointment. But not at me. As I walked out, the whispers followed. I didn't need to say anything else. The truth was viral now, not on social media yet, but in the only place that mattered. His own bloodline. By the time I reached my car, my phone was already buzzing. Messages poured in from family members. Apologies, support, solidarity. And one from Harper. Words out. People are talking. He won't recover from this. Good. That was the point. The hotel scene humiliated him in front of strangers. Tonight shattered him in front of his family. And the next stage, the entire city would know. Humiliation in a hotel lobby. Humiliation at a family dinner. Any rational man would have gone quiet, licked his wounds, and stayed out of sight. But not him. No. He doubled down. The first sign came through Harper again. She sent me a screenshot one morning while I was packing my daughter's lunch, his social media post. A carefully crafted caption under a black and white photo of himself in a suit. Sometimes marriages fall apart because one partner refuses to listen. I've made mistakes, but I will not let my story be twisted. The comments were split, some sycophants cheering him on, others already dragging him. I scrolled, sipping coffee, and shook my head. He was trying to play the victim. By the afternoon, he'd taken it further. A local lifestyle blog ran a puff piece. Entrepreneur opens up about marriage struggles. His quotes made me laugh out loud. I was abandoned emotionally, he claimed. My wife never supported my dreams. I nearly threw my phone across the room. Never supported his dreams? I was the one who paid the bills while he dreamed. I was the one who mortgaged my inheritance to fund his company's first office. The sheer audacity made my blood boil. But rage is fuel, and I knew better than to waste it. That night, I sat down with Harper and my lawyer. He's trying to spin this, I said, sliding my phone across the table. So we'll spin it harder. Except ours won't be a story. It'll be the truth. My lawyer smirked. Do you have receipts? I opened a folder on my laptop. Screenshots of emails, expense reports with charges that lined up perfectly with hotel dates, texts from the mistress he didn't know I had. Receipts? I have a damn Costco-sized pack of them. We made a plan. Not a messy rant, not a bitter outburst. A precise leak. Enough to ignite a firestorm he couldn't put out. The next morning, Harper posted the first match. A blurred screenshot of the hotel reservation, captioned simply, "When men lie, paper trails don't." She didn't tag him. She didn't have to. Within an hour, the comments section was a frenzy of speculation. Then came the screenshots of his texts, released in waves. Don't tell McKenna. Book the room for Friday night. She's suspicious, just act normal. Each one landed like a grenade. By evening, his name was trending in our city. Hashtags popped up. Rose Petal Affair. Loyalty Points Wife. West Palm Cheater. Memes exploded. His face photoshopped onto hotel loyalty cards, captions mocking his romantic gestures. I sat in my living room, wine glass in hand, scrolling through the chaos. My daughter slept peacefully upstairs, oblivious to the war her mother was waging. And for the first time, I felt the scales tip entirely in my favor. The final blow came from someone I didn't expect, his former business partner, Cole. He released a statement distancing himself from my husband, citing ethical differences. Then he casually mentioned misuse of company funds for personal entertainment. That one line sent shockwaves. Investors pulled out, clients backed away, and suddenly his carefully crafted entrepreneur persona looked like a house of cards collapsing in real time. I didn't have to say a word. The truth spoke louder than anything I could have screamed. Of course, he tried to fight back. He recorded a shaky video in his car, rambling about being framed, claiming the screenshots were taken out of context. His voice cracked as he begged people to respect his privacy. The comments eviscerated him. Taken out of context? You literally wrote, "Don't tell my wife." Bro, you gave her loyalty points. She won. Respect your privacy? You should have respected your marriage. Each reply was another nail in the coffin. By Friday, local news picked it up. West Palm Beach entrepreneur under fire after cheating scandal. They aired clips of his video alongside Harper's posts and Cole's statement. A reporter even reached out to me for comment. I declined. Silence is powerful when the world already screams on your behalf. That weekend, I walked through a grocery store and felt eyes following me. But it wasn't pity in their stares. It was respect. Women stopped me in the aisles, whispering, "Good for you. Don't let him get away with it." Strangers became allies, bonded by betrayal. Meanwhile, his life became unrecognizable. The mistress? Gone. She ghosted him the second her Instagram filled with comments calling her a homewrecker. His business? Crumbling. His reputation? A punchline. And still, he kept trying. He called me late at night, his number flashing across my phone. I let it ring out. He emailed long paragraphs about how I was destroying him and how we could work things out privately. I forwarded them to my lawyer without a second thought. Because this wasn't private anymore. He had dragged our marriage into the public eye with his lies, and now the public was eating him alive. The final twist of the knife came on Monday morning. Harper texted me a link, a viral TikTok with 500,000 views. It was a montage of screenshots, memes, and clips of his car video, set to dramatic music. The caption read, "When you cheat on your wife, but she has the receipts and the loyalty points." I laughed until tears rolled down my face. Not sad tears, cleansing ones. He wasn't just exposed, he was a spectacle. A cautionary tale wrapped in hashtags and humiliation. And the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger anymore. The internet had taken over, turning his downfall into entertainment. By the end of that week, his face wasn't on puff pieces about being an entrepreneur. It was plastered on memes about betrayal. He wasn't the golden boy of West Palm Beach anymore. He was a punchline, a hashtag, a man stripped bare by the very game he tried to play. And I was just getting started. By the time we got to court, he was already a shell of the man he used to pretend to be. The hashtags had shredded his reputation, the mistress had abandoned him, and his business had bled clients like a sinking ship. But court wasn't about humiliation. Court was about destruction. Legal, financial, irreversible. My lawyer and I walked in prepared like soldiers into battle. Every folder, every screenshot, every document carefully stacked in neat piles. Across the aisle, he sat with his attorney, a man who looked more exhausted than paid. My husband's suit didn't fit right anymore. The once tailored jackets hung loose on his frame, like even the fabric had given up on him. The judge called us to order, and the proceedings began. His lawyer tried the oldest trick in the book, painting me as a vindictive wife on a crusade. "Your Honor, my client has admitted to marital misconduct, but Mrs. Sullivan has weaponized this information, spreading it publicly to damage his career." I leaned forward, calm and collected. My lawyer slid Exhibit A onto the desk, the hotel receipts, complete with his handwriting. Then Exhibit B, bank statements showing thousands in business expenses that lined up with hotel stays and jewelry purchases. Finally, Exhibit C, screenshots of his texts. "Don't tell McKenna, she's suspicious." The judge's eyebrows rose higher with each page. When my lawyer finished, the courtroom was silent except for the shuffle of papers. "Looks like your client destroyed his own career," the judge said flatly. "Not his wife." Strike one. Then came custody. I'd prepared myself for a fight, but he surprised me by not contesting full custody. Maybe he knew he didn't have a chance. Maybe he didn't want his daughter to hear the recordings we had, his drunken voicemails, his venom about how he deserved better than this family. Either way, I walked out of that courtroom with sole custody of my daughter. He walked out with visitation rights so limited they might as well have been supervised. Strike two. The final blow was the financial dismantling. The judge ordered a forensic accountant to go through every corner of our finances. When the report came back, it read like an obituary for his bank account. He had siphoned company money for personal use, drained joint funds for business retreats that were actually weekends with her, and carried debts he'd hidden even from me. The ruling was brutal. I retained the house, my inheritance, and full control of the joint savings account he hadn't managed to touch before I froze it. His business, now crumbling, was placed under investigation for fraud. The judge even awarded me spousal support, not because I needed it, but because legally, I was entitled to it after years of carrying his dead weight. When the gavel struck, the sound echoed like thunder. He slumped in his chair, staring at the table, refusing to meet my eyes. Strike 3. But the courtroom was only half the fallout. His father called me that evening. "Mac," he said heavily, "you don't need to explain. I've seen the papers. I've seen the statements. I'm ashamed. Ashamed that my son could do this to you, to our family." I stayed quiet, letting the silence fill the space. "He's cut off," his father continued. "Financially, emotionally, everything. He's no longer welcome in my house. He's no longer my responsibility." There was a pause, then softer. "But you and your daughter always will be." That broke me for a second, not in weakness, in relief. For years, I'd shouldered the burden of keeping his image clean for his family's sake. Now the mask was off, and they saw him for what he was. Meanwhile, his siblings turned their backs too. His sister, the same one who had called me for the family dinner, posted publicly on social media, "Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. I stand with McKenna." The ripple effect was swift. His friends, colleagues, even distant cousins unfollowed him, blocked him, cut ties. And the mistress? She tried to crawl back into the shadows, pretending she hadn't been part of it. But screenshots had a way of resurfacing. Her name circulated alongside his in hashtags. She lost her job when clients complained about her ethics. Last I heard, she left the city entirely. I should have felt vindicated, and I did. But more than that, I felt free. Every lock I changed, every account I froze, every document I filed. It wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation. Piece by piece, I was taking back everything I'd sacrificed, everything I'd handed him in blind faith. The final nail came quietly, almost anticlimactically. A notice arrived in the mail. Foreclosure proceedings on his condo. He hadn't been able to keep up with payments after losing his income. Rumor had it he was couch surfing, begging old friends for a place to crash. Friends who now pretended not to hear him knocking. He went from West Palm Beach entrepreneur to a man living out of a duffel bag in less than 6 months. And me? I stood taller. The house was mine. The finances secure, my daughter safe and shielded. The community that once whispered behind my back now smiled at me in grocery stores and leaned in to say, "Good for you, you showed him." But I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Because for all the legal victories and financial wins, there was still one thing left. The final confrontation. The face-to-face moment where he would beg, and I would deliver the last words he would ever hear from me as his wife. And I already knew exactly what I would say. It was a Tuesday evening when he showed up. The Florida heat was still heavy in the air, the cicadas loud in the trees, when headlights swept across my driveway. I knew it was him before I even looked out the window. The beat-up car, the hesitant way he parked like he wasn't sure he belonged here anymore. I almost didn't open the door. Almost. But a part of me wanted closure. Not for him, but for me. He stood there when I finally cracked the door open, thinner than I remembered, shirt wrinkled, hair unkempt. His eyes darted to the lock he no longer had a key for, then back to me. "McKenna," he breathed, voice hoarse. "Please, just give me a minute." I stepped outside, closing the door firmly behind me. I wasn't letting him set foot in my home again. He shoved his hands into his pockets, shifting from foot to foot. I lost everything. The business, the condo, my friends. My family won't even take my calls. I've been sleeping in my car. I need your help." The words should have cut me once. They didn't. Not anymore. "You need my help," I repeated, crossing my arms. "After everything you did? After humiliating me in public? After dragging me through lies? After throwing away years of my life?" He flinched, but pressed on. "I know I ruined everything. I know I don't deserve you. But you were always the strong one. You were always the one who held us together. I can't do this without you." For a moment, I just looked at him. At the man who once strutted into rooms like he owned them, who once laughed when I asked about perfume on his shirt, who once thought I'd never find out. Now he was hunched, desperate, hollow. "Do you hear yourself?" I said finally. "You want me to rescue you again. Like I did when I paid our bills. Like I did when I gave you my inheritance. Like I did when I raised our daughter while you chased someone else." His eyes glossed over. "I'm sorry. I swear, I'm sorry. If I could take it back—" "But you can't," I cut in sharply. "You can't erase the hotel bookings. You can't erase the texts. You can't erase the look on our daughter's face when she asks why you're not here anymore." He took a shaky step closer. "Please, Mac. I'll change. I'll be better. I just need one more chance." I held up a hand, stopping him cold. My voice was steady, firm, and colder than I ever thought I could be. "No. You had your chance. You had years of chances. And every single time, you chose yourself. You chose lies. You chose her." He swallowed hard, tears spilling now. "So that's it? You're just going to walk away?" I straightened, every muscle in my body alive with certainty. I already walked away. That night in the hotel lobby when you froze at the sight of me, I left you behind. Everything since has just been me cleaning up the wreckage. His lips trembled. "I have nothing left." I met his eyes, unflinching. "You're the architect of your own destruction. You built this. You earned every consequence." For a long moment, neither of us moved. The cicadas droned on. The air pressed heavy between us. Then I turned, reached for the door, and pulled it open. He whispered, broken, "Please." I didn't look back. "Goodbye." And with that, I stepped inside, closing the door with a final quiet click. His shadow lingered on the other side for a few seconds, then faded into the night. I leaned against the door, my heart pounding, not with fear or anger, but with freedom. It was over. Truly over. 6 months later, my life didn't look anything like the ruins he left behind. It looked better. The house was mine, officially and permanently. I renovated it, not out of necessity, but because I wanted to make it new. My space, my daughter's safe haven, fresh paint, bright curtains, a garden we planted together. On Saturday mornings, she helped me water the flowers, her laughter filling the yard like music. There was no tension hanging in the air anymore, no slammed doors, no lies slipping through phone screens. Just peace. Work flourished too. Without his chaos draining me, I poured myself into my consulting business. New clients came in, word of mouth spread, and for the first time in years, I felt proud to put my own name on contracts instead of propping up his. Money wasn't survival anymore. It was security, independence, a foundation I built with my own 2 hands. And my daughter, she changed the most. At first, she asked about him constantly. "Why isn't Daddy here? When will Daddy come back?" Each question broke me a little, but I answered honestly, gently. Daddy made choices, but Mommy is here. Always. Over time, her questions faded. Now, when she talks about her future, she says things like, "When I grow up, I want to be strong like you." That's when I know I made the right choices. Every now and then, whispers about him reach me, that he's still floating from couch to couch, that he tried begging his father again and was turned away, that he picked up shifts at a bar just to scrape by. He became irrelevant, a cautionary tale in our community, a man who burned every bridge and stood staring at the ashes. I don't celebrate his downfall anymore. I don't need to. His life is his own punishment, and mine is my reward. One evening, I stood on the balcony with a glass of wine, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The breeze was warm, the sky streaked with pink and gold. My daughter sat inside, humming while she colored at the table. I thought about the woman I'd been, the one who ignored warning signs, who carried the weight of 2 people, who let herself be dimmed for the sake of a marriage that never deserved her. That woman was gone. What remained was someone sharper, freer, and stronger. Someone who learned that betrayal doesn't define you. It frees you. It strips away illusions, forces you to rebuild, and shows you that you never needed the person who tried to break you. As the last light faded, I whispered to myself, "This is what freedom feels like." And for the first time in years, I believed it. Thanks so much for watching this story unfold. If it struck a chord with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts or even your own experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to the Velvet Revenge channel for more powerful stories like this.